Hello, I'm Jay Gregory. On today's episode, we're going to share with you a bunch of hunts that highlight the grunt tube. There's nothing more exciting than calling to a deer. They don't always come, but when they do, there's nothing better. Welcome to PSE's Wild Outdoors.
A bow hunter is someone who embraces the ultimate challenge and becomes one with nature. Overcoming obstacles, enduring difficulties, patiently waiting for opportunities that may not come. This is bow hunting. Outdoorsmen by nature, bow hunters by choice. This is PSE's Wild Outdoors, and we bow hunt everything. And it all starts now.
Hey guys, November 8th. It's our last day of hunting before we're gonna go back to work in the morning, so we're gonna try to make it happen here. It's 2 o'clock, we just got in and there's one doe that's already out here in the field, so hopefully we get some good movement. We saw a really big rub on the way in that wasn't here last week when we were hunting this place, so rubbed a telephone pole. Another deer, big buck I think, big bodied deer. Pretty good buck. Yeah. It's a shooter.
This was one of those situations where the buck followed the doe into the timber. Matt tried to grunt to get the buck to come back to him. He didn't right away. However, that deer didn't forget where that noise came from, and it was about an hour and a half later, the buck shows up. You know, it's always been amazing to me how a deer can pinpoint where a noise comes from. Even after an hour and a half, 2 hours, this buck knew exactly where he had heard the grunts from before.
That's the buck we saw. He came out, I think Steve might have got a little shot of him. We got in the stand at 2 o'clock, and while we were getting set up, he came out and ran a doe back in the timber. She just walked down the field and he ran her back in. I called to him a little bit, but he didn't come in. I think he kind of kept it in the back of his mind, though. He ran her around and then came right to where we were. He Nice old buck. I didn't even notice when he came in, he broke that main beam. That all happened so fast. We seen him, we got in here at about 2 o'clock, and he came out this pasture basically south of us. There was a doe out there. He came out and ran her back in, and we knew then he was mature, had a good body on him, and so I called a little bit and we never seen him. I think he stayed with that doe in there until she finally took off, and 5 minutes later he came out and basically pinpointed us. He came right to the base of the tree, made a good shot on him. It touched back, but he didn't go 50 yards maybe, and just a pretty buck. He's got really good brows. He's got good mass. Would have been a 10. Didn't break that side off there. So just a nice buck and a good way to finish out the first part of our Missouri season. Stephen got a beautiful deer yesterday morning, and I got one down now. So good way to end our 2015 vacation.
This segment of PSE's Wild Outdoors is brought to you by Sitka Gear.
PSE's Wild Outdoors is being brought to you by PSE Archery, Yeti Coolers built for the wild, Stirka Optics, / Inset Blade Arrow System, Carbon Force PSE Arrows, Hueyman Extendable Saws, Polaris, Sitka Gear, and Maverick Blinds, a lifetime of hunting.
Earlier in the show, that was an awesome hunt that Matt had in 2015. We're going to stick with Matt, go back to 2014, and show you another buck that he grunted in.
Hey guys, welcome to the Wild Outdoors. It's really windy today. We came into this timber that we hunted yesterday morning. Should be, a lot of ditches and draws here. Big timber to our south.
Being a very windy day, they decided to move deep into the timber. The week prior to this, they had seen a big 8-pointer. They were hoping to lay eyes on him again. Earlier in the afternoon, they'd seen some smaller bucks. About 3:30, all of a sudden, boom, big 8-pointer stands up at 80 yards all by himself. Perfect opportunity to get out the grunt call.
Side. Whew. He's down right there. Good job, buddy. Man, that was intense. That's a good buck. That's a deer Stephen came in here and videoed last weekend. Good, big, mature, like 5-year-old 8. We talked about seeing him in here, and he came in.
Boy, wouldn't we all love to have every whitetail out there respond the way this one did to a grunt call. It doesn't get any better than that. What an awesome hunt.
Well, hey guys, here he is, November 2nd, North Missouri. It's the Missouri youth season here. It's we're wearing all the orange, and turned out to be a great day in the woods. Super windy. We were going to go down to a bottom and hunt a good buck that we saw last night, and so windy I didn't know if they'd be moving out to the fields much, so we came in this 80-acre timber here, and he was moving through here with 2 does. This is a deer that we've seen before. Actually got some video of him last week. Just a real good old, I don't know, 5 or 6 year old. I don't know if we have any history with this deer from last year or not. We'll have to kind of go back through our pictures, see what he looked like last year, but he's got a really good frame on him. He's got really good mass, good bases, and this is a super cool old buck. So
This segment of PSE's Wild Outdoors is brought to you by Polaris.
This segment of PSE's Wild Outdoors is brought to you by Hueyman Extendable Saws.
Well, traditionally, most of the time you're in a tree stand, you see a buck cruising, you hit him with the grunt tube. Very effective. However, it does work on the ground too. We're going to join our good friend Keith Beam. He's going to show you exactly how it works in Kansas from ground level.
Now, any recon mission in the end of the rut or the middle of the rut, be a wise idea to bring your bow, your release, and your rangefinder, just in case you catch one bird dogging something. So we're going to be a little bit more prepared than just a walkabout. Not much, but just a little bit.
Keith and Mike were walking in to find a great spot to hang a set, and Mike spotted the buck bedded with a doe. Well, Keith didn't have a grunt tube in his possession, so he did the next best thing. He was Keith Beam. He used his mouth, and it worked. Well, the buck definitely heard Keith's grunts, but he wasn't about to leave that doe, so Keith took the fight to him, crawled in a little bit closer.
Man.
Well, even though when Keith was at full draw and he was grunting at him, he couldn't get him to stop, couldn't get a shot, the buck remembered where that grunt come from. 5 minutes later, curiosity got the best of him.
Man.
Well, as you could see, the buck ducked Keith just a little bit, but Keith ran up real quick for a follow-up shot, and then the celebration was on.
All right. Beamer's Guide Service, Norcator, Kansas. That really is a fine, big deer. One of the best deer I've ever killed in my life, and he is a stud.
Make sure and check out our new website at bowhunteverythingtwo.com for merchandise and videos and everything wild outdoors. Also follow along on Facebook and Twitter for our daily updates from the field. Now we're going to join our good friend Jim Martin. He's filming himself, which is plenty tough as it is, but just like earlier in the show, it's really windy. He decides to move into the timber to get out of the wind a little bit, and he has an awesome hunt.
Well, it's November the 8th, and we're set up here in the timber this morning. Seen some pretty nice bucks here in this area.
Jim had been there about an hour and he seen some chasing up on the hill, so he locked the camera down, kept the record going, grabbed the grunt tube, and started calling to him. It wasn't long, and once again, as they will do, this buck is on a string coming straight to the tree.
I just shot a really nice buck. He came up from behind me, walked right up. I seen him go through chasing a doe, and I grunted at him, and he turned, come right back up through behind me, and walked out here in front of me. He's behind a limb. I was filming myself this morning, and he may have walked out of the frame when I shot here, but I had him right up until I shot. Looked like a good hit, so I'm gonna sit here a little while and see, go down and see what happens here. my hands on this bird. Well, here he is. He's a really nice buck, and I got her done by myself this morning. Called a couple guys to come help me with the recovery, but I'm just tickled to death with him. He was chasing around, seen some chasing the last couple of days, so thought it might be good this morning. It was really windy, but everything worked out. So just really happy with him.
That was an incredible hunt that Jim had. I guess kind of the moral to the story today is don't forget your grunt tube. They're not all going to come to you, but when you catch one in the right mood in the pre-rut, you hit him with a grunt and he comes straight to your tree, there's nothing more exciting. Well, it's about all the time we have for today's show. We'd like to thank you for watching. We'll look forward to seeing you again next week right here on PSE's Wild Outdoors.